In five, four, three, two, one. Hey everyone, it's Ian from the Cognitive Cow, and before we continue with our regularly scheduled content, I want to take a moment to explain why I deleted my other YouTube channel, Dr. Guyman. Now, people have been asking me this a lot because some of them really enjoyed the stuff I posted. I don't know why they enjoyed it because it was awful and it hurt a lot of people, but some people found a way to enjoy it, and I enjoyed making that content until I saw what it was doing to the people around me. Now, as most of you who watch Dr. Guyman know, Dr. Guyman was a Trump supporter, and by nature of being a Trump supporter, that also made me a racist, sexist, homophobic, apathetic piece of garbage that should have never been allowed on the internet. And looking back, I'm glad I was bullied at school for it, because if I wasn't, I would have never learned my lesson, and I would still be causing unthinkable amounts of harm to the community to this day. But why is this? And why is supporting Trump a valid ground for corporate punishment? To answer this, we need to understand why all Trump supporters are so indescribably evil, and that boils down to the actions of Trump himself. You see, Trump has been Trump has been caught on camera saying he likes to rape women, shoot blacks, beat up gays, and kick Mexicans out of their homes. And why wouldn't he? He worships a God that also loves doing those things and actively encourages those things. This is not the God of Abraham or Isaac or even Jesus, but the God of the Council of Nicaea. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Council of Nicaea is, it was the series of church meetings in 325 AD that published the Bible. It was composed entirely of rich, straight, old white men who sought to oppress the testimonies of blacks, gays, and women. And this explains why several parts of the Bible are easy to deem racist, sexist, and homophobic, because the Council of Nicaea wanted it to look that way because they themselves were racist, sexist, and homophobic, and intended to impose that agenda on the rest of Christianity. That's why only after the Council of Nicaea did the church start preaching verses about slavery, rape, and genocide against blacks, gays, and women, because those verses didn't exist prior to the Council of Nicaea when they were added in to support a theology that put rich, straight, old white men at the top and everyone else below. And consequently, this became the new God that the church has been worshiping for 1,697 years. An idol, if you will, and it is this very idol that personally commands every act of bigotry Trump has ever ordered and carried out. Now, Now, a notable example of the dangers of Trump's God is the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. Some pigs like to argue that it was a liberal conspiracy, but if it was, then it would be called Unite the Left and not Unite the Right. Anyway, what happened was, following the Charleston, South Carolina church shooting in 2015, a targeted attack against the African American community, which claimed the lives of 9 African Americans at Emmanuel African Episcopal Church, a number of local Virginia governments took the initiative to tear down monuments built to honor Confederate war criminals of the Civil War, in an attempt to de-glorify the racist values that the Confederacy was built on and stomp out the Confederate infestation once and for all. But Trump supporters, being racist Confederate war criminals themselves, had a problem with this. And on August 11th, 2017, they assembled around the statue of Robert E. Lee in the center of Lee Park, which had just been renamed Emancipation Park, to protect the racist statue from being torn down. In addition to Trump supporters, people wearing red hats bearing the slogan "Make America Great Again," self-identify neo-Confederates, neo-fascists, white nationalists, neo-Nazis, Ku Klux Klan members, neo-Catholic crusaders, Norse pagans, and various right-wing militias were also present. During the two-day attack, hundreds of worthless racists and pedophiles successfully defended the statue against a siege of counter-protesters and demolition crews. Now, the statue was removed 5 years later, but I say it was defended successfully because they stopped it from happening when it was scheduled to. These are the exact same militia groups that participated in the January 6th Capitol riot last year. This attack resulted in 1 death, 49 injuries, and 11 arrests. But instead of offering sympathy to the community of Charlottesville, the family of the person who died, or the dozens of people who were traumatized and scarred from the battle, Trump called the right-wing protesters fine people. Yeah, because ramming 35 people with a car is totally what fine, good people do all the time. In fact, Trump never condemned any of the actions of the white supremacist group, nor did he kick them out when they showed up at his rallies. And that says a lot about who he is as a person and what kind of things he personally condones being done to people. So, Trump is an instantaneous existential threat to the black community, the gay community, the Hispanic community, and pretty much all women. That's an indisputable fact. But what does this have to do with Dr. Guyman? The fact is, Dr. Guyman is a Trump supporter, and that means he also supported all the horrible things that Trump supporters do for a living. Dr. Guyman was a racist, sexist, homophobic murderer, and I was tired of being that. Back then, I didn't realize that the things I posted were causing that much harm in the world, but when I did, I wanted to stop it as quickly as possible, and by canceling myself, I believe I contributed to the solution, which is silencing racists and ending their careers before they cause any more harm. If I didn't do it, someone else would have surely done it. And if that happened, I don't think I would be here today, because those people would not hold back. To make matters worse, in fact, those people would come from both the left and the right due to my direct involvement in the LGBT community. You see, as Dr. Guyman, I was frequently accused of toxic masculinity, which is a set of attitudes and ways of behaving stereotypically associated with or expected of men, regarded as having a negative impact on men and on society as a whole. It involves cultural pressures for men to behave a certain way, which affects all boys and men in some fashion, such as the philosophy of manliness, which perpetuates domination, homophobia, and aggression. In toxic masculinity, the ideal of manliness is called the Chad, which is a cruel, emotionless man with a 20-foot beard, an ultra baritone voice, a microscopic butt, big giant muscles that beat people up, and one more thing that I can't say on YouTube. And if you're like me and you don't have any of those things, they call you a sissy, which is universally recognized as a homophobic slur. In the final year of Dr. Guyman, I started experiencing symptoms of dysmorphia, which of course I didn't tell anyone about because Republicans say men can't do that. So I secretly made contact with the LGBT community, and they told me that I didn't have to live up to the standard of the Republican Chad, that I could choose my own path because it's my body and I can sculpt it however I want. So I did. I stopped working out. I shaved off all. Hold on. I lost my place. I shaved off all my hair except on the top of my head, and I just started draining testosterone so I wouldn't be angry and evil anymore. And when I did, that's when old white men started chasing me and shouting homophobic and misogynistic things at me. Now, fortunately, none of them ever really got their hands on me, but only because I cut them all off and have socially distanced from old men ever since. But now that I had experienced firsthand the harassment that I had been saying for years never happened to gay people, it opened my eyes to the fact that everything Democrats were saying about Trump supporters was true all along. They're not just conspiracy theorists sitting on the couch plotting murders all day, but they're real people who have been abused by Republican chads, and by supporting Trump, I was contributing to that abuse. So that was when I pulled the trigger and deleted Dr. Guyman. 120 subscribers, thousands of videos with thousands of views, 6 years of hard work, all for nothing. And I'll do it again too if I ever find out Democrats are doing the same thing. But that's for another time. But that's why I deleted Dr. Guyman. If you're a Democrat, an atheist, a survivor, or a member of the LGBT community, I'm sorry for all the harm that I caused, and as the cognitive cow, I intend to make it right and take your side on all the issues I fought you on before. Your lives matter, your rights matter, your voices matter, and if any punk in a Groucho Marx tells you otherwise, no matter how old they are, cancel them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.